Ready? And look for it.
Oh.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Webster Board meeting for September 14th, 2023. If you would stand with me, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jerry, would you read it, please?
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Seated. I believe that we have a presentation, a couple of them this morning, or this evening. First of all, Matt Chatfield is
No.
going. No,
Sorry,
Go with
we'll let
Tom.
Tom go.
we are.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That wasn't prepared.
Then we have a presentation to the board regarding a potential change in our Medicare plan for retirees, right? So, Tom, you are the man of the hour, so
Thanks
go
so
ahead
much.
and talk.
Thanks for carving out some time for me tonight to share, so that I can share with you an alternative to your health insurance for those retirees who are Medicare eligible. That's the only population that it would affect. So currently, you have an Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield Group Medicare Advantage plan. It's an HMO, a health maintenance organization plan, and the restrictions really with an HMO plan, there's a couple of them. You have to live in the HMO service area. So if one of your retirees decided to relocate anywhere outside of really the Western New York area, Excelis would notify them as soon as they made the official change of address. Excelis would notify them and say you're ineligible to remain on this plan, and then they would have to go out and secure their own coverage on the individual Medicare market. The other limitation is even if they don't relocate, but if they were to travel for any period of time, they would have limitations, restrictions on really any type of healthcare services that they would need outside of emergency room care. So if they spent a few months outside of the Western New York area, the South is a popular place to spend the winter, and something came up from a healthcare standpoint, they could go to the ER and they could have coverage. But if they needed something else done after the ER, they would have to return to the HMO, to the Rochester area to have that work done. So they would have a tremendous amount of out of pocket if they were to schedule something outside of the service area. So the proposal that I prepared to share with you tonight is from Humana. Humana is located in Louisville, Kentucky, national player in the Medicare market, and the plan that I'm proposing is what they refer to as a passive PPO, meaning that you can live anywhere in the United States. There's no restrictions, and you can you can go to any provider, hospital, doctor, and all they have to do is accept Medicare, which most do, and be willing to send the bill to Humana. So that's the network. The nice feature also is it doesn't matter if the provider is in network or out of network. The cost sharing is exactly the same for the retiree. So again, if somebody says, "Oh, I don't accept Humana," it's not really a big deal. It's just a matter of, do you accept Medicare, and will you send the bill to Humana, and they can have the service provided to them. So it eliminates people being restricted to live in the Western New York area, and it lifts the restriction of being able to go outside of the service area and not incur potentially, or not expose yourself to a lot of out-of-pocket if they were to go, for instance, someone were to say, hey, I have this heart issue and I'd like to go to Cleveland, to the clinic, no restrictions, maybe something's come up and they want to go to Sloan Kettering or they want to go to Johns Hopkins, they would be free to do that. They all accept Medicare, they all bill Humana. So then in terms of the actual benefits, we were able to improve the benefits, meaning that it's a lot less out of pocket for services that your retirees would receive. So right now, if they go to their primary care for an office visit, that's currently $15. On the proposal, it's $10. If they were to go to have to stay in a hospital for an inpatient stay in a hospital facility, right now it's a $100 copay. There is no copay. It's covered in full on the Humana plan. If they needed an ambulance ride, right now that's $65. It would be covered in full on the Humana plan. One of the very nice features is currently, if you go to a skilled nursing facility for any type of services, and most likely it's going to be a rehab stay. Both plans, the current plan you have right now, the Excellus plan you have, has days 1 through 20 are covered in full, and then starting in day 21, you would have a $196 copay on the Excellus plan. And Excellus also has on their plan a maximum out of pocket. So anytime you have a copay involved or any type of cost sharing, once you reach into your pocket for $3,400, that's the maximum that they can get from you in a given year. On the Humana plan, it's $1,000. So the exposure, the cap is a lot less on the Humana plan than the Excellus plan. But again, the only time the employees, or the retirees, the only time the retirees are going to have a copay on the plan is for an office visit setting. So if it's inpatient, skilled nursing will be covered in full up to 100 days. If you need an ambulance ride, if you need to go to urgent care, if there's an outpatient surgery, those are all covered in full. There's no cost sharing involved. So it's a better benefit. It allows you to, it drastically reduces the out-of-pocket that the retirees have. It lifts the restrictions in terms of where you can live and where you can get your services. And the premium, right now, your premium is $472 and some change per enrollee per month. And the Humana premium is $214 and change per enrollee per month. So it drastically reduces the premium. So over a 12-month period, it would save a little bit more than $52,000 and provide your retirees with a better experience with their health insurance. And I know I just threw a lot out, just so I'll take a break and if anyone has questions or concerns.
I see you're looking at the contract.
Well,
Did he say about it?
you couldn't make a decision tonight to change. It's a benefit of employment. It doesn't affect just retirees. You could have an employee who's age 65 still working, and it would affect that. And plus the union contract says says the village is gonna fund the same percentage of retirees' cost of health insurance that they do for employees. So it's gotta be approved by the union also.
I tried counter that.
Huh?
No, it did not. Well,
You do have-
If you're gonna change it, if you're gonna change it, then you gotta get the union to buy into it also, do a memorandum of understanding and all that stuff.
I don't know, Heather, if you had asked Jake, he said he did ask John, John's not here.
he's listening, but John's on the Zoom right now listening.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Good.
But, so I've shared with you different, multiple people who are in favor of this because it's no brainer. But Jake had thought that, because it doesn't list a plan, that maybe it would need,
Well, the language in the contract says, the Simply Blue Plus Gold 6 plan will cover employees/retirees until the age of 65. At the age of 65, the employee/retiree will be required to move to an approved senior care plan. Now, approved, when it's in this contract, I take that to mean not unilaterally approved by the village board, but approved by both the village and the union. Since it's in a collective bargaining agreement, I think that's the intent, is that they've got to approve it also.
Right, and I would agree to that, because it directly impacts that.
Yeah.
I don't think they've had a chance yet to.
no, this is just to you guys first. Well, other than we have discussed it with some other ones who have asked if we are considering moving to something like this, and we have said it's in discussion right now. Because a lot of our people want to go to Florida, they don't live here. We have a couple people that moved out of the area and they had to get something else, so they're in huge favor of this. So I don't foresee it being an issue, especially with how good it is. I even got Jake on board, so I think he's a tough critic, so.
Any questions, Chair? No? All right.
Thank you so much, Tom.
You're very welcome. If anyone, just share my email, cell phone number. Anyone has any questions, I'm available.
Okay, I think your next probably discussion will be involving the union, correct, Jake?
Yeah, we expect so, based on Don's input, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
See you, Ted.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you very much.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm gonna send that right to you.
Okay.
All right, at this time, we will have a presentation from Matt Chatfield on the New York Forward update.
Or I can send it to you as an email. I just have to go to the website. And then password. 601. There you go.
presentation up? I was
No, I didn't, I just made you the host, so it went to your screen.
weird.
You want this?
Yeah, I'll try one. I guess I don't understand why it's not in presentation.
Let's see if we can make it full screen. Oh, I can't, because it'll be down here.
Okay, well, I can just do it from here then. This is what everybody's seeing, right?
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah, I think you're sharing your screen, so I gotta do it from yours, I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm in presentation mode right now. Great with a slideshow, but it's not actually,
Oh, because it's projecting my computer.
isn't that weird?
Yeah,
We're just gonna make this work somehow.
sorry.
No, all right, we're just gonna make it work. Wonderful. Thank you for, can we see the presentation? Okay. So thank you for the opportunity. There's a couple things I would like to talk about today. I do want to talk about the pending grant application for the New York Forward program. But I also want to provide a quick update to the board about the Webster Economic Development Alliance and just the things that we're working on, because there's a lot of things going on simultaneously here in the village and in the town. So I briefly want to talk about just the partnership success of this corporation, founded back in 2009, public-private partnership, 5 entities, as we all know: town, village, school district, chamber of commerce, business improvement district here in the village. And we've had quite a bit of success over the past 10 years, $10.2 million of grant funds brought in, about $18.74 for every dollar that's been contributed to the corporation. So we've been blessed with success, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. And if we look at the screen right here in front of you, you see the town of Webster with the village in the middle. And these are all the projects that have been undertaken either in the past few years or they're going on currently. And within the boundaries of the village, we have 4 large projects, 2 of which were already completed, one being the North Avenue Connector, which is the Route 250 streetscape improvements and the pavilion and some of the gateway elements that have happened at the interchange, as well as the East Main Street Revitalization Project, which includes the properties that are adjacent to JoJo, and they include Whimsy's and Lala and the buildings fronting on Main Street. We've been successful there, and some future projects that we're currently working on, including areas around Xerox. And one of those projects in particular is what we call the Reimagine Webster Initiative. This is that $200,000 grant for master planning that we got from the state. So we're making our way through that project. Our consultants have done a lot of work. We've had multiple advisory committee meetings. We've had multiple public engagement opportunities with the public, with businesses, with Xerox, with the town's recreation center, because the recreation center is within the boundary of the project. Right on the screen, the project area is in orange and yellow. It's north of 104, encompassing the lands largely that are all of the village, for the most part, most of the village north of 104, but doesn't go all the way to Salt Road. So as part of that project, we conducted an economic analysis. We hired economists and real estate experts and economic development experts to understand what's the market say. So we can master plan all we want and make suggestions, right? But if it's not market-based, it really doesn't make any sense if it can't be implemented. So the market analysis said, or uncovered, that housing is of viable concern in this area. Up to 1,000 units, market rate units, could be absorbed over the next 5 years, including 500. Basically 60% of those could be owner-occupied units, and about 45% of them, 40% of them could be rented units. So housing is a big opportunity, right? In addition, retail is also an opportunity, but in niche formats. So it's not strip retail like we see on Ridge Road. It would be more along the lines of convenience retail or retail that would be associated with residential, so what we call mixed use. So having a new a housing development or a new neighborhood with some ancillary supportive retail, or retail that's associated with maybe an entertainment type venue. So somewhat of a destination type development. So the recommendation isn't for a Tops or a Wegmans or anything of that nature, anything of that scale. It would be on a smaller scale associated with other uses that would bring people and activity to a certain area. Market opportunity, industrial and flex. This is already being, fulfilled in part with that new approved small industrial flex park that's going at the end of Donovan Street. So this is a perfect example of that style of development, although I think larger footprints would be something that would also be marketable within the community. And then the study area that we see here has been broken down into sub-areas, what we call strategic sites. And there's going to be a mini master plan that's created for each of those zones. Area-specific little mini master plans. And we're in the process of undertaking those, draft versions of those now. The goal is at the next steering committee meeting here in the next few weeks, we will get a refined version of what those mini master plans for each of these little sub-areas will be. Also, there's a lot of talk going on about Phillips Road and the future of Phillips Road. Monroe County has indicated that it will be substantially rehabilitating Phillips Road from Route 104 all the way to Schlegel Road, starting design now with construction for 2025, 2026, I think is where construction is occurring. Potentially stretching out to 2028, unfortunately. We're hoping it's sooner. So this project has the opportunity to drive, what does the future of Phillips Road look like? What do we want it to be? Do we want the cross-section to be narrower? Or does it need to be so wide? Could there be pedestrian accommodations? So we're currently using this project to help drive that design process. Same with Donovan Street and Commercial Street as well. The town, or excuse me, the village, and Jake in particular, has identified these two corridors as I would say, desperately needed corridors, right? Must-do projects. Just looking for the resources and the opportunity to undertake them. We're using the planning funds here to identify what those future improvements could be, with the hope that we can then leverage these planning funds for improvement funds in the future via other programs. So, and there's a lot of talk about what could happen on Commercial Street. These aren't easy corridors to envision a change of use, right? They're very industrial. I think Commercial Street in particular is very much always going to be largely in that industrial capacity. There may be further opportunities for some additional changes on Donovan Street, but the way the land use pattern is right now, it's difficult, absent a huge investment, right, from a single investor to really see, change in those areas. So the next steps on that project are, we do have a steering committee meeting next week, and then we will have a public meeting scheduled probably early October to discuss, the findings of where we are, and then we're going to hopefully identify some other local events that we can piggyback on to get some more public engagement. So, the goal is to have this project completed from a planning perspective by the end of the year, maybe January. Okay, so it'll be right in time to have the next grant funding cycle in May, where we'll start looking for implementation funds or other next phase projects. So that's an update on the Reimagine Webster initiative. Getting back to where we started, New York Forward, which is that $4.5 million grant program. Next week, we have to hit the submit button on our application. It's a program that provides not just seed money, but real hard dollars for public and private investment projects. And this year, we have two sort of zones. Last year, we were actually successful in applying, and we made it to the interview round. But our project was specifically Main Street District centric, right? We did get feedback from the state that said, now that you have this program that you're doing north of 104, as far as at Reimagine Webster, it would make sense to dovetail the project for New York Forward in with that, because the state loves to see that you're piggybacking on their own spending programs. So we did extend the project boundary to include that. So now there's gonna be two zones. There'll be a Main Street zone or Main Street district, and then a North End business district. And currently, we're trying to finalize what are the projects that we're seeing in those locations. We've come up with a vision statement. We have a small advisory committee that has met, has vetted out the vision statement. It's very similar to the one that we approved last year when we submitted. And then the investment priorities are very similar, although we've started to prioritize. We had a very big grandiose list last year. We're trying to prioritize them, bring them down a little bit. That last meeting that we had last week on the 6th discussed that. But as far as public sector projects, Veterans Park and Main Street streetscape and lighting improvements, and also a new concept for what we're calling, currently, the concept is called Village Market Square, which would make targeted capital improvements to the parking lot right behind here, such that we can improve the use of that space as a flex public gathering space. So lighting, maybe facade enhancements, so that we could commandeer a portion of that parking lot, the one right in front of where the highway garage is, for a bid event on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, rather than always relying on shutting down Main Street, right, and impacting the traffic flow. Our goal is, can we have a flex space within that parking lot on a Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday? It allows us a lot more use of it. We would only probably sacrifice maybe 12 parking spaces to do so, maybe 15. But it would bring a lot more activity into the village. And it would be easier for the bid to operate those events. It's very complicated to shut down Main Street. It takes a lot of advance notice, and it also takes a lot of manpower. And there's, now that we don't really have the auxiliary police, it's really put on the village and the bid members. So, so that's the concept. And hopefully we can maybe lure the farmers market back in on a more regular basis, back into the village where they used to be. So that's the concept we're pushing. A couple other projects on the private side. There's no funding committed mostly for these projects just yet, but we're still trying to just vet them out from a viability perspective. But we really love the concept of the Harmony House being revitalized, Old Church Mall being revitalized. We're very high on those two properties as kind of the other ends of the barbell for Main Street, right? And then with Vets Park in the middle, right? It's the middle of that aspect. And some other programs so we can spread out that 4.5 million to other property owners. So a small project grant program. So it would be a competitive application process to the village for $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 of facade improvements or public space improvements. We really wanted to make sure that more than just 2 or 3 property owners would be able to leverage and take advantage of this opportunity. So the next is we will have a public open house next week. We need to start publicizing it, make sure that people can come in, and it'll probably be in this room. But it would be from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday the 21st. And the goal is just to, obtain feedback from the community. There will be no formal presentation. It will be open house style. People can come and go as they please on their busy schedules. And then we hit the submit button on the 29th. 2 other topic areas that I wanted to discuss today while I had the audience. So the community access project is the Xerox roads, the conversion of Xerox roads. We've been talking about that project almost ad nauseum for several years now, right? Where we stand currently is the village submitted a $4 million request for community project funding to the federal government. The way that program works is you would ask for the money, and then in order to receive it, your project has to make a list on the appropriations committee for each of these House and Senate finance, subcommittees, right? So they have all these subcommittees for every program. So we have made an appropriations markup in the bill for about $500,000. So we had asked for $4 million. Right now we're at $500,000. It doesn't mean anything until the actual federal budget is approved. So right now things are still up in the air. The 2 sides are fighting. If it ends up with a continuing resolution, what that means is any new funds aren't in the budget. We need to have a new approved budget for these funds to be made available to us. And regardless of that, the 500,000 is not nearly as helpful as we would, it's funny, but it's not nearly as helpful as we'd want it to be, because we have $1.8 million from the state already committed, but they'll only allow you to spend, they'll only provide you 50% of the dollars that you spend up to 1.8 million. So if there's only 500,000 from the feds, then the state would only say, well, you can access 500,000 of the 1.8 million. So then you're left with $1 million, which doesn't get us nearly to the goal of what we had originally, right? So we're trying to make our way through that. But this whole area is very much the center of that Reimagine Webster initiative. The map you're looking at is rotated, so 104 is on the right-hand side rather than on the bottom. So what's next? Waiting the funds, you're gonna identify a master developer for that site, and then we're gonna continue to work with the Monroe County and the other parties on Phillips Road, because that's a very important aspect there. Unfortunately, since I'm not actually in presenter mode and you're not seeing the slides, but what we have here is what I want you to end on is a big picture of what's going on within the community, so both town and village. So what we have is we have a 1,500 acre industrial zone. We've kind of coined the term the northeast area for technology. That zone crosses the town and village boundary, right? So it's industrial zoned land within the community. And the goal is to unify that. Right now, if you see those two boxes, we have a yellow box and a green box, right? The yellowish, goldish box surrounds Bolter Basket Road and Bolter Industrial Parkway. That's on the east end side of the community. On the western side is the box that's somewhat green on the screen. Largely, that's the Xerox campus, but these two areas are not connected currently, right? So our goal is to unify the industrial zone from Route 250 all the way to Basket Road, a continuous roadway. We have pieces and parts of it currently, but we don't have all of it in place. So the goal is, can we extend a roadway here across to Basket Road? There's currently Bolter Industrial Parkway there. We're working right now on extending that road about 1,600 feet, as well as on the western side at Chiota Drive, which is basically tee up with Panama Road, which could be at some point, could be a village road. Right now it's private. But the goal is this unified industrial zone, right? So that's largely what we're working towards, which would then connect our industrial complex of sites that we could then be marketing towards larger users, larger industry users. Similar to that Fairlife project, maybe probably a little bit smaller because most of the sites are a little smaller. But we're talking about identifying a host of large-scale industrial sites that will drive employment, drive investment in the community. And this is sort of the spine, right, that connects everything together, right along Mitchell Dean and connecting from 250 to Basket Road. So that's just so you can see the 10,000 foot level of all the efforts that we're going through currently. And with that, I will ask or answer any questions you have.
Is that road gonna go through the ballpark on Basket Road?
That road is going through what is now a parking lot. And the parking lot will be relocated. We are currently working with the school district on that. We've identified a path forward. Everybody's in agreement. Actually, we should be able to execute that shortly. Yeah. Jerry? Nothing?
It's exciting.
Mr. Mayor?
A lot of work.
Involved in a lot of things. So. Any questions at the moment? Good presentation.
Jake?
You're keeping me busy.
No, Don.
No, it's great
Don, you
stuff,
have
I think.
questions. Mr. White, any questions? Anything to clarify?
Just how
how much does Xerox want to get rid of some of their roads so that they are public roads? And how quick, what is their time frame for that?
I would say that their time frame is as soon as possible. However, what does that really, what would that entail?
Well,
They would gladly deed them, they would gladly deed them over tomorrow.
correct, but the village doesn't want to take dedication of substandard roads.
Absolutely not.
And if you're only coming up with $500,000 from the feds, I don't know.
And 500,000 from the state.
I thought you said it was 50% match from the state.
Right, so the state will match those dollars, basically 1 for 1,
Oh,
up to 1.8 million.
okay.
So,
Anyway, I don't see how this is really coming, that part of it anyhow is gonna come together unless,
well, there needs to be more money brought to the table.
that's, sure, yeah, that's for certain.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like Xerox is willing to bring much of any money to the table.
There's a lot going on in that area, but you're right, that it clearly is that is the challenge du jour of how do we get the money to bring the roads up to a standard that Jake would be willing to accept. And in the end, that's the standard that we need to meet.
Right.
So the goal currently, I think, would be to focus just on Panama and Orchard as a phase. And then maybe, I think the next step would be, what is that minimum standard and what do we think? We have a large plan of what I think we would love to see happen with those roads, right? But do we move forward with a lesser version to keep the project active? Or is it really just not in the village's interest to take a lesser version of what the larger vision is, right? If it's just a repaved surface with the same striping pattern and we just move on to what public benefit is there? I think there's questions those questions need to be answered. It's not simple, cut and dry. I'm not pushing for it just to happen, just for it to happen. There has to be a substantial public interest involved for the village to take this on.
I did have one note here that caught me off guard, so I didn't read it, but with the community access project at Xerox, your second bullet point there is we need to help identify a master developer. What is that role, or what's that look like, or what's function that person or entity serve?
So the master developer would be for that, the developer of that 88-acre site.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, trying to identify the private sector that's going to step forward, because at that point, then we have more private money involved, and then there's a lot more opportunity for public sector dollars from other sources to get involved if they see that there's someone with skin in the game making an investment. Get what I'm saying? Like, if the ball starts rolling downhill, more people and resources may come to bear on the project. We were hoping to do just the opposite, right? We were hoping to spur private sector interest with some public dollars, but maybe now it's going to end up being the other way around, right? So we're not giving up on it, we're just maybe changing course.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
There's a lot going on,
Yeah,
Matt.
there is a lot. Does there need to be a resolution regarding the public meeting,
That's what they're
do you
discussing.
think? Technically, it is a village public information. It's not a WIDA meeting, because the village is the applicant for the New York Forward Grant. It's not a hearing, though. It's just an informational meeting. So I'm not sure if the public notice perspective matters on
It
that.
depends on if there's gonna be board members
I don't believe there is intended to be a quorum of board members.
there. We can always just send it to the
Resolutions are
Herald
free,
just to be
right?
sure.
I thought they were free. It would be great if it was something that I could put in the grant application, that there's a resolution that they did that. Kind of important.
Information meeting, is that the 21st?
6 to 8 PM on the 21st of September.
Well, you're doing some kind of a notification so that members of the public show up to this meeting, right?
Yes. This is more of just on the formality side, to meet the requirements of the grant submission.
Can you send me something I can send to the Herald tomorrow?
Okay.
Well, unless a quorum of this board shows up to conduct village business, it's not really subject to the open meetings law.
Okay.
So they just all can't come.
Well, they can come,
Then I just have to post.
but if they're just sitting there, I don't think that.
There will, yeah, there's no presentation, there's no meeting, as much as there is just an open forum.
But any
Rick,
members-
did one-
Take a resolution just to allow the room to be open. For the purpose of public comment.
I don't think you did.
Just to be certain, it couldn't hurt just to put some kind of notice in the Webster Herald and have Heather post something on the door of the village office.
Okay. Perfect.
And then that, even if it were subject to the open meetings law, that would satisfy the notice provisions.
Okay.
How long ago was this meeting scheduled? Well, it's not a regularly scheduled meeting. If it's scheduled more than 7 days in advance, you're supposed to give, off the top of my head,
3 days.
3 days notice, I think it's 72 hours
Yeah.
notice.
But that's only,
Yeah, it's not-
only 5%, but maybe they're gonna be meeting a bunch.
But you just like a resolution to hold a public information meeting on the 21st from 6 to 8 for the New York Board grant application and plans?
Yes, sir.
Because that would help in the application and stuff when he puts that in there.
Agreed. So if you repeat what he just said, we can.
A resolution to hold a public information meeting for the New York Board grant application on September 21st from 6 PM to 8 PM.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
There's only three.
I think Mr. Lauer is it.
Okay. Trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Aye.
Motion passes. Just give me
Well,
something.
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
I hope to get a lot of comment. This is a project that I think is important, very important for the village.
Yeah, clearly the next step is to try and get more bodies to that session, right?
A lot of good things have happened, and a lot of good things we're looking forward to the future that we hope will come to fruition. At this particular point in time, it is 7:44. I will open the meeting for public comment with respect to regular village business. If there's anybody who would like to address the board this evening, the microphone is here. Come to the mic, state your name, address.
Hi, my name's Salvatore D'Amico from Intercon Auto Sales and D'Amico Group LLC, 205 North Avenue, Western New York, 14580. I'd just like to ask why we were removed from the agenda today.
The state is still as of April 29th, and I assume still today, in a situation in which they have a hold, an injunction on cannabis retail stores.
So what does that have to do with this?
So I'm waiting at this point for resolution at the state level.
They have made a resolution, they're opening up all applications October 4th to everybody, that includes ROs and MSOs, big corporations. That when they do apply and get the license, which they will, they're gonna steamroll over small, local entrepreneurs like myself. And that's a fact.
You asked, I told you why.
Okay. What's the next step moving forward? Can we get put on an agenda for the next meeting, or?
And I apologize, I wasn't aware that it was pulled off the agenda.
Neither did I mean.
Respectfully, we should have reached out to you if that was the case, so I apologize on behalf of. Yeah, at some point, you know, we can't just dilly-dally back and forth, get it on the agenda and let it be heard and make a decision. But the stalling is really not necessary.
What exactly do you want to talk about? Me? Right.
I think it's important that we hear everything, once again, decide if there's going to be public, any public concern over this. And
Well,
vote
there
for
would
it.
be a public hearing.
A
We would set
referendum.
a public hearing.
We have to vote for a public hearing, is that right?
We would, yes,
Yeah.
we would.
That's what was on the agenda for tonight, to set a public hearing. So if your concern is you want to get more input from the public,
And then we canceled it.
the public hearing is the way to go. I'm a
What is
little,
that?
I think, Daryl, I don't want to speak, well, your email you said to me, in addition to the injunction, you were concerned about the board has not really discussed the details that should be understood before a change is made. I don't know what details you're referring to. However, what in the town of Arundequoit, which never opted out, so they passed in August of last year in their zoning code, the town of Arundequoit allows cannabis, adult cannabis, both dispensaries and on-premise consumption sites in their manufacturing district. I don't know if they also have an industrial zone, but it's probably the equivalent of an industrial zone. And then plus they have various requirements as far as the time, place, and manner of operation, which localities can do. So if these are the kind of details, here is, take one, Jerry, and give one to the mayor and one to Carl. This is what Arundequoit did. If those are the kind of details you were referring to. If there are other details, let me know.
Thank you, Don, and me as well.
These
Can
are
answer
the
any
types,
questions you guys might have.
these are the types of things. I think
Okay,
that-
see, because I was confused
I'd
because,
also be interested in knowing what Penfield has done. They too must have set something up, correct?
not necessarily.
No?
The village of Fairport, not every municipality that didn't opt out has adopted, regulations of the time, place, and manner. There's nothing in the village of Fairport. I didn't look at every code for every town or village in Monroe County that did not opt out. I did look at Arundequoit, and lo and behold, Arundequoit did something. So.
Well, that is one of my concerns, to go forward with the resolution just to allow a retail establishment without, or putting something like this in after the fact. I'd rather have something like this.
But it's the chicken, it's not quite like the chicken and the egg, but this only, these kind of regulations only come into play if you in fact opt back in. That's gotta happen first, otherwise, this is irrelevant.
Okay.
So why even go through this unless the decision is made whether you're opting and opting back in again? And these could run on a parallel track. You could do local laws, you know, a local law, A, to opt back in, and then a local law to adopt regulations of the time, place, and manner of operation.
Okay. Well, that gives a little bit more clarity, because at first it was, in my mind, I could say, we are adopting a local law allowing establishments. Okay. Now you come in after that, and now you set up regulations. Why aren't they set up? Most laws, I would think, have as part of them more detail. Well, that's one of my thinking thoughts.
Well, it's two separate, it would be two separate local laws.
So they would not be
Because,
joining them.
and again,
Why?
I haven't taken any polls, but as I've said before, I don't know if there's 3 votes to opt back in, so it's like, why,
Plus,
Well, that's what's happening.
plus there's a lot more than just the 5 votes that are up there, because there's a public concern as well, so. But I just, this was one of the main things, right there, and I appreciate this.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said 2 separate local laws, just for clarity, they can be done at the same time, in the same meeting, or kind of a parallel track, so it wouldn't, there would be a gap period that said, hey, you allow retail sales, and it's a Wild West for a couple months until you can pass another local law, it can be done at the same time.
Right. Which was kind of what I was, that's one of the reasons why there was nothing like this. It's just a law that says, yes, we're going to have it. So somebody applies, where do they apply for, and then all of a sudden you come along and set up parameters and another local law. So.
So, the question is, when are we putting it on the agenda, so it's,
We certainly can put it on the agenda for next meeting, which would be a public hearing.
huh? Who's gonna be here? Are you here?
I am here.
well, it wouldn't be the public hearing at the next meeting,
No, 'cause we gotta,
because you gotta take a
You have to do
resolution
that now.
to set the public hearing.
We can do that now?
If it's up to this board, I gave you
If you want to do it.
the clerk has.
yeah, just remember what this, that, we gotta also remember what the conversation was. I think we get confused on this board. At least the last meeting I was at, I missed the last one. I was getting hammered about the health of this, and that's not what we're talking about here. We didn't pass the law, it's legal. So any other thing that I'm open to discuss, but if we're gonna talk about the health of it, someone who smokes this is doing it whether you have a shop in the village or not, so it's my opinion.
May I speak? It's giving access for adults to safe recreational cannabis. That's regulated, highly regulated. Adult use only. I know that the last workshop, a lot of kids were on discussion, but, that's a totally different discussion. This is 21 years or older, adult use. This is for people like myself, the community, if they want to choose to not alcohol or tobacco or those other choices, they can go and get a safe source of cannabis for themselves, for their pets, medical use. and it's tested and regulated, and it comes from a licensed cultivator and processor locally, all from New York.
That's correct. That does not mean that this village necessarily has to have a law that allows it at this particular point. We can opt out. We have opted out. There are quite a few communities across New York State that have opted out. And you are here asking us to opt back in. Doesn't
Yes.
mean that we have to.
No, but I'd like to go through the, the formal process of trying to opt in again. I'm not trying to stir up stuff or, I have a full-time job.
I'd love to have, and we will have, I'll ask for a resolution to have a public hearing. Because it's not just the five of us that should be, it's the five of us that vote. But we need to hear also what the public has to say.
And I totally agree.
So, let's have a public hearing, a resolution to have a public hearing.
You're not gonna cancel it.
Pardon?
You're not gonna cancel this one.
Careful what year you say that
Huh? Oh, you got a bad ear.
Okay, well, we're still here under public comments. Go ahead.
Okay. Do I have the floor? Can I?
Yeah, you got a few minutes, and anyone else who wants to speak in come, because
Okay.
this is a public session. so-
Okay, I'm just gonna make a couple comments on a pamphlet that I put together for you guys. 75% of the local excess tax goes straight to the village. Based off of my conservative projections, the village stands to take over $115,000 in the first year. That's based off of $3.6 million in sales. And that's easily attainable based off of the numbers that the rest of the 23 licensed retail stores are doing right now. And since June, total sales since June, from January to June, was $33.4 million. And from June to current, it was $30 million. So, the financial gain to it is there. But the main thing that I'm focused on is, the benefits of the license, the recreational adult use cannabis, quality control, consumer safety, tax revenue, job creation, reduces crime activity, public health, social equity, and research opportunities continuing forward for safer products. And just a little background on myself. I graduated from Greece Olympia in 2013. I established myself successful business owner in Rochester, New York. I started my journey at a young age, started working at 15 at Tom Walls in Greece Ridge Mall, with a solid foundation in business administration at FCC. I gained valuable experience working for various local businesses, including Tom Walls and Dunkin' Donuts, and a local furniture store in the city of Rochester, which was New to You Discount Furniture. My involvement with Peter Gunn Auto Sales has been particularly significant. I joined the company in 2015, and now I owe 50% ownership in the company. And under my leadership, the business flourished and achieving an impressive annual revenue of over $12 million a year. My father, Peter D'Amico, founded the company in 1976 and was one of the first registered importers in Finger Lakes region. We're now one of 120 registered importers in the country, and we deal directly with NHTSA DOT, so I'm very familiar with strict conformance and compliances. And on top of being one of 120 registered importers, we're a used car dealer and a retail dealer, wholesale and retail, and we sell to all the local new car dealers around the town: Bob Johnson, Westford, Cavallero, Spur, Basil Ford, Royal Chevy, and Cortland. And with my father's guidance, I became a key contributor to a successful business. In addition to my accomplishments in the automotive industry, I've ventured into real estate over the years, and my personal renovations of 5 properties and 2 current properties that I own, one in East Rochester, a rental, and a rental in Florida. My journey towards success has not been without challenges. The impact of my mother's incarceration on marijuana charges during my formative years, coupled with her struggle with alcoholism, greatly affected my upbringing. This adversity made it difficult for me to concentrate on studies and personal growth. Furthermore, the tragic loss of my cousin to fentanyl in 2018 added another layer of grief and hardship. But that didn't stop my determination to propel myself forward, engaging myself to overcome these obstacles and forge a path of success. So that's just a little bit about myself. So, and I understand what the organization and the last workshop meeting, I'm not against them. I'm actually would be a contributor towards them. I want safe products in our community. I know what it's like to lose somebody from fentanyl overdose. I know what it's like to watch parents lose kids. It's not good, it's not okay. And I had many opportunities to leave the state of New York. You know, I highly question that in 2018 when my cousin died. I could have took my business and moved to Florida, went to work anywhere else. I'm young, I have the rest of my life out of me. But I decided to stick here, work hard, put my head down, and make something of myself. And that's what I did. And the state deemed me acceptable to have a recreational license. They accepted me under the CARD program. They think that I'm, you know, a great candidate to be one of the first retail stores in New York, and I want to do good with it. So I have the right intentions moving forward, and I do everything to, you know, help this community out. You know, I'm born and raised in Rochester, and I want to do the right thing. The money's great and all, but money doesn't motivate me. You know, doing the right things for my family. They can all contest here tonight. I mean, I do things without question to help people. I mean, I don't ask anything in return. I just do it because that's my personal satisfaction out of life. So try not to get jerky up here. Already teared up once looking at some of these pictures that I put together for you guys. But thanks for the time. I look forward to the next meeting. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Can I ask a question before you stop? Is your mother the one who gets the license because they were given to those who?
So if you were affected, if somebody was charged with marijuana charges and you were in the household and affected by it, you could apply under the CARD application. And from my mom's marijuana charges, it ruined her life. From there, she fell heavily into alcohol and lost the house. I had to go move with my father, got kicked out of high school for getting in a fight because my own life was crazy. I go home, you know, want to be drunk every night.
But it's not in your mom's name, it's in your name.
It's in my name 100%. So, my mom now lives in Florida, she doesn't live in New York. She had to move out of here. She just, you know, if she was still here today, she'd probably be in jail or dead. I've watched so many people, you know, my friends, family, just had somebody die last week that worked for us, a dollar guy, detail guy, overdosed on fentanyl. So I'm more than, you know, in this for the right reason. I want a safe source to get product, to get cannabis. And me personally, it helped me tenfold getting through all this stuff throughout my life, with PTSD and everything. Losing my cousin, growing up, hardship. And my story's not any worse than anybody else's, but.
The question was about your mother, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else?
I got I'm Peter DeMcConnell's dad. So we own,
What's your address, sir?
I live at 85 Tuscany, Webster. Well, we own a building on the corner of Donovan and 250, 8 Main Street, and the other address is 12 Main Street, I think. The bookstore and the garage sale store. So now, I'm not a marijuana smoker, but since he's doing this here, I've been checking it out a little bit. So we did East Rochester, they opted in, they were very, tell us where we can go, where they want it, talk to people in Fairport, they have 1 square mile, right? And so yesterday, we had to deliver a car in Syracuse. So there's a marijuana shop or cannabis shop, I went there. Now I go into this place, and there's at 7 o'clock at night. There's 7 people at the counters waiting on them. There's 25, 30 people in there buying it. They're not kids. I mean, they're my age, you know, they're older. So, you know, you're getting a person now who wants to buy it. He don't want to go to this side alley place to buy it. He wants to buy legit stuff. And that's what this is for. You know, and if you look at the history, all the crimes were prohibition, drugs. And how do you get rid of it? You legalize it. And you get rid of the criminals. Maybe my nephew would still be alive today if he could have bought something legitimate. But no fentanyl in it. So thank you.
Anyone else? And I will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will move to regular scheduled village business. First of all, we have a resolution to approve the claims and warrants. I have looked them over,
I do.
and I have no comment on them. Unless, Carl, you do, or Jerry? I ask for a motion to approve the payment of the claims and warrants.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
The board wants to look at it, so more than 5 people.
Do you want to pick it back up tomorrow or something?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just to know, because I know there was a subject of, you know, things being marketed towards children, there's strict regulations and rules of how you can label, you know, advertise these products, so.
Just got samples for you, just kidding.
There's nothing, there's not anything in it, it's just the packaging, so, thank you guys.
Daryl comes back tomorrow. I'm in, I'm back in.
Want to see?
No,
Oh, I didn't get the second.
Jerry, Carl.
I second.
I got it.
You can't mess it up, there's only 2 of us.
Hey, you guys always look at me when I do. Trustee Abolito,
Aye.
trustee Lowen,
Aye.
Mayor By.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Bills are approved. All right. Next, we have a resolution to set a public hearing on proposed local law number 3, entitled the Village of Webster, New York Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, the Uniform Code, and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code, the Energy Code, known as Administration and Enforcement Local Law. And this will be on Tuesday, the 26th, 2023, at 7:05 p.m., or as close to that as is possible. You have a copy of that in front of you. It's then a bit.
Sorry, I just want to make sure we have enough time.
So wait.
For the hearing.
And I may have missed this, but you moved the meeting from the 28th to the 26th?
Yes,
Correct, that was done last time.
so that's what I was trying to ask you earlier, if we have enough time. And if I send it Monday, it'll be in the paper Thursday, well, Wednesday, but,
The public doesn't get it until Thursday.
correct.
Well, it's 5 days' notice, that's the bare minimum, 5 days.
Yeah,
So the answer is yes.
okay, I didn't know the time thing.
No, it's 5 days, it's not 5 business days.
Okay,
It's just 5 days notice.
okay, we're good then. Just double check.
So you guys give your motion.
Okay. So, we have a resolution public hearing on this bill on Tuesday, this local law on Tuesday the 26th.
I'll make that motion.
Made it.
I second it. And here,
Oh, sorry. I'll second it.
who did it?
Chair.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Aye. Okay, we have enough time, this can go in, and
Yeah, are we setting the other public hearing at the same time?
Heather has the prepared resolution in her office if you want it. But obviously,
all this is to set a public hearing on,
sometimes you like to read all those whereases though. There.
I don't like to read them at all.
I was being a little facetious there.
Uh-huh.
There it is.
But it's basically, it's got different whereases, but the bottom, the be a result part is the same, except it's local law number 4 instead of local law, the code enforcement was local law number, proposed local law number 3
And 710.
of 2023. This is proposed local law number 4 of 2023.
So, I'll entertain a motion to set a public hearing on proposed law number 4 of 2023, which deals with the repeal of the local law that opted out of the sale of a retail establishment for the sale of cannabis. Is that correct?
For the
Yes.
time, for 710.
For 710?
The other one's a 7:15?
The other one's 705.
So,
Well, they're all at, or as soon thereafter as
Yeah.
the public can be heard, so.
Anytime we do it too far apart. we're
But
just-
I'm guessing you're probably not gonna get a lot of public comment on the code enforcement
I doubt it.
one. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we will, I believe we will.
right, so probably doing this at 7, what did you say, 7:15? 7:10 is probably okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Trustee Alito,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And just before we get off that topic, I did, on my phone, Google real quick, the town of Penfield does have some pretty comprehensive regulations about the time, place, and manner of cannabis retail dispensaries. They don't allow the on-premise consumption facilities, just the, so I will print those out and get them to all of you. So at least you'll have a Rondequoit and,
Where did you find it? So I can-
well, you just Google town of Penfield, and then you go to their town of Penfield website, look for their town code. There's a search bar at the top. If you type cannabis in, it'll go to any of their local code that deals with cannabis, and you can find it. I just did, East Rochester doesn't have any, even though they allow it. They haven't adopted any time, place, and manner
It's kind of
stuff.
the Wild West.
You should call them the Wild West.
In East Rochester.
They're the Wild East, I guess.
I'm sure that the mayor would appreciate that.
His name is John, he's pretty fun and good.
So what you could do that for, and I did that for the village of Fairport, they didn't have anything. But those are the only ones I did. So you could go to, pick any town you want. And most, all of them have, just like the village, the E-code is a link to their websites. And then once you get to the E-code, just in the search bar, type in cannabis and you'll get whatever they have. But I'll get you Penfield.
Okay, thank you, Don. Okay, last thing I think that we have here is a resolution to approve the budget modifications and transfers.
don't have to read them.
Wow. There was not.
There is a lot. Because Marcia's not here.
It looks like, wow. You don't have a total? I guess, no, you don't.
So at the top when it says based on year-end activity, are these, so for based on the last fiscal year? Okay, that's why there's so many of them.
So
So it's really not,
terrible.
it's really not current budget modifications, it's really modifications to last fiscal year's budget. To make up for ones where you might have spent too much and didn't spend in others, so she's just making them all balance.
Yeah, she's getting up to speed with things that need to be done before the auditor comes
Right.
in October. And you don't have to read them,
I
Derek.
haven't gone through and added them all up. Very often we have summation of
So, and the way accountants are, it's a little confusing. Their debits, or when they say debit, so that was money that was spent.
correct. And credit is
And
where
so-
it's coming
So
from.
those accounts are kind of, were overspent, and then to balance it out, she's taking it out of the credit ones for the, you know.
And usually there is a total in the past, so
Right.
I guess I would ask that you total
Okay,
the lines, a few lines, so that we see what there is in the future.
no problem.
So we have here a resolution to approve the budget mods, including the general fund modifications and the sewer fund modifications, so that these were done to balance the year-end activity for 2023, 22-23.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Alito?
Aye.
Trustee Arnold?
Aye.
Mayor Brown?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Anything further to add?
No, I probably talked enough.
There's a big tent.
I'll cede my time to Joe Swinton.
No,
Well, talking about the criteria, I guess I'm done too.
Yeah, Oktoberfest tent was huge.
That is a big tent.
Coming up,
Wasn't it big last year? Yeah.
It's coming weekend.
Kind of disappointing this last weekend with the rain on Saturday. The activities both on Main Street and also down in Vets Park, but
Mayor
they
Brown?
were fairly well attended.
Sorry, I forgot, we have one more thing that we had to add. We need a resolution to, give Jake permission to go to the highway school, is that what it's called?
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah, the
there.
public works school.
It's Public Works.
Going back to school.
Well, it's NICOM's
Yeah,
annual, we try to go every other year, I
in
think.
the school.
It's, where is it, in Lake Placid, October 16th through the 18th.
I heard it's fun and like Placid during that time.
It's, to me, frankly, it's annoying. I wish they picked like Batavia and Syracuse or somewhere more central.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I looked at some of the things that are on there for consideration of going to them.
Yeah, there's ethics, wastewater things, GIS, mapping, mesh. There's whether it's lead and copper rooms, there's roads,
What's the cost?
asset management, what's that?
What's the cost?
The room.
I forgot.
The cost, the hotel is $567, and the conference itself is $390, so $957 would be the cost of the hotel and the conference itself.
I can take your camper.
No, the camper stays. Stays where it is. Oh, yeah, hold that on Trailblazer.
You can take Daryl with you.
It'd be more in Lake Placid to park the camper than it would to the hotel.
$8 a day,
$8 a day?
yeah.
Oh, then maybe I will take the camper. You can bring a tent there somewhere, can't you? But there's bear up there, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Have fun,
Trustee
Dave.
Alito,
Aye.
trustee Lauer,
Aye.
Mayor Byers.
Good Tom.
Motion passes.
And one, I don't know, do you have anything else? Okay. Just looking for approval to accept the bid for, we put a generator on the auction, and it actually gets declared a surplus quite a while ago, and it was on a auction in May, and some signals got crossed there, and for some reason you couldn't, if you typed in the word generator, it didn't show up. They had it listed as a transfer switch, so I asked them to take it down. They're like, well, I'm sorry, yeah, we can't take it down. I said, well, we're not selling it, so I don't encourage anybody, because if you can't do a search for a generator and have it come up, we didn't reach the audience we're trying to reach. So once it sold, like, and then the closing bid was like $1,100, and I just told them we weren't taking it because I didn't feel it was properly marketed. They went back, they put it on a recent one, had it closed Tuesday, and this time it brought $3,325 for this, for the, you know, the old generator in the garage and the tank. and the
That was a
transfer
good call.
Yeah, so, it was good, we had a few calls about it. They had the, I think the diesel motor in it and listed incorrectly as well, so I just want to make sure everybody was, you know, it was fair. Someone didn't think they were getting a Cummins diesel and it was a Ford one, so, it'd be like, you know, getting an old experienced quarterback and then he gets hurt on the first play, so I didn't want that to happen to anybody. So, but I'd like to, we've got authorization to accept the bid of $3,325 for the generator and associated equipment.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Second that.
Trustee Lauer,
Aye.
trustee Alito,
I don't
and
know.
Mayor Byers.
I don't know if I could say aye now.
I know, I thought about that afterward.
Aye.
So there's only three guys, I shouldn't have done that.
I think it's a good outcome from a grand to $3,000, so. Aye.
We got a couple of meetings yet before you tell people not to put their leaves in the gutter.
I do, I hope,
I've seen it already.
I see you got the sucker.
yeah, we got it, we're actually, let's go to a fabricator
You've been-
tomorrow to, that truck. The box on that truck, the vacuum points down. And you can't fill the truck very well, you can only get about 2/3. As we're trying to raise the truck, so we're raise the opening on the back of the box. So thinking of the guys that cut the back and raise it up, so it's a little more efficient than getting 2/3 of the truck filled and having to go dump it again.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, I know. Did all of you give your comment regarding the clock?
Yeah, but surprisingly, we don't agree on anything. I agree, I like that clock.
We agree on some things, Jerry.
I like that clock,
I do too.
I do too.
right?
Did you see mine?
Did you email it?
Yes.
Jude likes
No, it's
the,
Problem is
close
Randall.
right here. I had-
Code
I
like-
had-
I printed it because I thought
That's
you were
about
collecting them
2/3 of
Can
West
somebody,
Street,
can somebody
so-
email that to me?
You just don't want this?
I can take that, yeah.
Daryl, can you email your choice to Peter?
I can take that.
Was it the bottom one?
Take it.
All right, I'll take it.
And, so you have 3 of us that are interested in this one.
Okay.
Jude like the two
I'll
sides.
I'll scan it in, send it to Judy and Al. and-
I don't like that
I don't know about
No,
Al.
two-sided voted out.
No, Al likes it.
Al likes it.
Okay.
But Jerry likes it, Al likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we could,
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
then we could say Judy's gonna swing whatever way Jake's going, so
Yeah.
where are we at here?
Sundial.
Four cycle.
Right, Jude? Where are we going?
So then you just need to get the specific price for it,
Yes, exactly.
and then.
Now they have design, I can do the rest. And Jake will do,
And then,
actually Jake will do some of it, but,
and then they could, probably given the cost, rather than
well, I'll,
retroactively approving purchases like most of the time happens, have the board approve the purchase order, then go ahead and order it.
actually, I was gonna ask you to write the resolution for to take the money out of the parks fund.
Well, that's right. So we gotta-
Because I need you, that I do, I could write it, but I'd rather you write it,
Send
so.
me an email, Peter,
Yep, I will.
to remind me.
Everyone,
So that should be done before we put the PO in.
Chip green color.
Correct.
Really, it's not really fair to do it otherwise.
Yeah,
Decide
so
what color you want.
Green.
after you get the specific price, I'll include all that in the resolution and
Yep.
Make it just
the
like
models,
this.
as specific as we can get it to
Yep.
what the exact clock is.
Okay,
And I'll put it all in the resolution.
okay.
Got it.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, then I guess K-26, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
All in favor? Oh, I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You say it in the wrong ear again.
You made the motion, I second. I do that once in a while.
So next meeting, we have the,
You got one?
the public meeting.
Hold on, hold
Two
on, hold on,
public
hold on.
hearings.
The first one is for.
Yeah, well, but I don't know if that.
3.8 million is
Yeah,
115,000.
How many cars?
next meeting. Does it follow the
No,
choose
no,
to
yeah.
opt in or opt out?
No one buys one,
We wouldn't have that.
It's easy to do the math.
We have to, in order to
Don't, if that were the case, you couldn't put it.
let the guy